Hey, what's up? Good morning. It is Monday morning here in Budapest, Hungary. Today we're going to be playing Blitz in classical chess on lichess as usual. I'm International Master Sparkle Horse, also known as William Paschall. We go by Sladgy on Twitch, my former poker handle, and my former dog, and his nickname. Arsenal fan asked me an interesting question. I'm playing in a tournament on Tuesday tomorrow, starting a 10-player round robin, and he asked me if I was nervous. And it's a good question. I used to get very nervous when I was a kid. When I was a little kid, before my first tournaments, like in the first year or two, I remember like being so excited, like I was going to a tournament that I couldn't sleep the night before, and I mean, I've literally played probably like something in the neighborhood of 2,000 tournament games at this stage, and I think after a while, like, you kind of lose that childish nervousness to a certain extent. But if you take a layoff and you don't play that much, yeah, there's certainly some nervousness. I mean, I've been playing some team games, but I've only last played in a tournament back in June. I think it has a lot to do with like self-motivation. If you're positive, if you're excited, you can probably be a little more nervous. I think it can be a good thing, to be kind of like pumped up. And I'm not there right now because I'm fighting this cold. I was hoping it would get better, but it's gotten worse. So I've just been kind of like preoccupied with that. But we're yeah, an interesting question also. Do you struggle to wind down after games? Well, I think I struggle to wind down after the Sunday simul because like I'm playing those 20 games and it's hard to get it out of your brain. Your brain is like doing this very complicated work, and then like you suddenly stop and then you try to go to sleep and you can't. But that's been an issue sometimes. Yeah, it is hard sometimes. But anyway, I'm an old hand at this. I just need to play aggressively and not make too many quick draws and get a little bit. You need a lot of luck, I think. I think if we don't get screwed with the two players that we're replacing, without being able to find someone reasonable. Yesterday I spent the day helping my team captain find players to replace these two Indian guys who dropped out at the last moment. I've never ever like dropped out of a tournament during the tournament or like right prior to its start. It's a very bad thing in a round robin or something like that. So we had to find replacement players at the last moment. Hopefully they'll be strong enough that the category doesn't get you. Yeah, Arsenal fan. I mean, it's been a joke that I'm always sick before the tournaments, but I mean, I've literally been healthy for 6 months. I've never been sick once, like in the last 6 months. Literally, like 3 days before the tournament starts, I get sick, but. I'm not going to use it as an excuse. Sometimes you can focus better when you have a little cold going on. All right, let's get started with some games here. I'm going to play Aldisto Trompowski. Aldisto is a subscriber, so he'll be first. Do you play friendly games with viewers time to time, bro? Said, are you ready? Well, that's why I come here. I'm basically playing against the viewers. But I do play with everyone who subscribes to the stream first and foremost, and then if we have free time and there's no challenges from the subscribers, like these guys, Trompowski and Coffee's new, but I'll take the subscribers challenges first, and then I'll move on to challenges from the other players. My games are always friendly, but anyway, I'm also like playing a lot of knight f3 type of stuff lately, and I think I have to be more aggressive with the d4 and e4, and also keep people off balance. It's not good to be too predictable in the opening. So what's up? Did you guys see the London Chess Classic? Wow. Well, this isn't going to happen in my tournament probably. It's not Weird Wednesday, Aldisto. This is Monday. Just so you know, he has played this before. The Albin counter gambit. I think once there was a simul game, but it's not something that I concern myself too much with because strong players generally don't play the Albin. Morozevich played it off and on a few, in Kasim Janov, I think, some 10, 15 years ago. It kind of went through a little, because of Morozevich, it went through a little spurt of popularity, but this is not something I'm worried about. Let's see. I'm trying to remember what, probably G3 is the main line. Of course, I've played this move order knight on BD2, and it's more typical to play G3 on move 5, so is there any way I could take advantage of this? I know that A3 is sometimes played. It's definitely a useful move. A3, knight on G to E7 probably, and then I could go knight B3, but now he's on bishop G4, he's eliminating my knight on F3. I'll just play G3. I'm not sure. Railbird, what's up? I am under the weather. I started a course of antibiotics. I've got a really typical kind of sinus infection, so nothing life-threatening, but it's hard to shake it. So I should be back, 100% within like 5 or 6 days. But it's just a kind of problem with me, genetic. Queen D7. Unfortunately, I have to play in a tournament, but I'm not that bad. I just sound a lot worse than I feel. I don't feel really bad. So that's the positive thing. Knight on G to E7. Maybe I should play H3 at some point here. His pieces, I think the knight and the bishop start kind of fighting over squares at some point. I definitely played an E6 type of pawn sacrifice against him last time. We played this sort of variation, which is an idea I borrowed from some games I've seen before. Yeah, so I sound crappy, but I'm actually not feeling that bad, which is the important thing. It's not how you look, it's not how old you are, it's how you feel. I mean, of course you can consider taking with the pawn here. It actually looks like quite a dynamic move. I'm a little concerned about pawn takes, knight takes e5, f4, queen c6. That kind of puts the screws to me. Let's say I have f3 there at the end. Well, I mean, he's got a lot of possibilities. He could even go d4 there. We'll play it safe. I mean, it's a fast time control, so if I had more time, I'm starting to act like this is a tournament game. I'm not really that much interested in trying to hang on to my material advantage, but I want to try to keep positional advantage. Now here I might need to play bishop f4. It looks a little dodgy though. Bishop f4, take, g6, queen f5, queen d2. He can kind of pile up on that pawn, but all right, let's give it a try. I don't know, this feels awkward and it feels awkward and materialistic, but to be perfectly honest, when I go bishop g2, yeah, I was concerned about my c4 pawn falling. He's playing fast. What's up, guys? I don't understand. What are you talking about, Bob? Bob, I'm completely lost, with your comments there. I don't really understand. Oh, because I'm sick? All right. But I took the decision to take antibiotics because if I get really, really sick, if this gets worse, in the middle of the tournament, I'm going to be totally screwed. So it's not that bad yet. You know, and if it gets really bad, I'm going to be a very, very sad camper. So last year I basically had the same thing. Okay, now I think I ought to think about castling queenside as well. That's a possibility. Got great control of the center here. Thinking queen d3, maybe blockading the passed pawn. It's also taking away the f5 square from the black queen. These are generalities, though. My king position is the one real question. But this allows me to do preemptive stuff, like if knight a5, I can play b4 now because my c4 pawn is also protected. I saw your positional video course you recently released. Well, if you released a high-level repertoire for white and black, yeah, I can read. If you released a high-level repertoire for white and black, I would purchase it without hesitation. Chess Twin X X22. Who is X22, by the way? What is X20? What is the symbolism of X22? What does that refer to? Because that's Kamran Shirazi's name on Internet Chess Club. Crazy international master, fame for playing unsound openings. He was a fantastic blitz player, probably still is. So, bouncing his queen off of d7, and I don't necessarily want to keep my bishop on this diagonal, but I thought somehow it just feels like a good idea to kick him out. And now, and then developing a piece with tempo is always a good thing. The new X-Man, obviously. Okay, but the new X-Man, it has to be, then it's an old X-Man. Right, it's a cartoon X-Man character that's been around since when, would be my question. How, is it, I mean, it's totally new, or it's been around in Marvel Comics for a long time? That's my question. All right, what are we doing here? H5. It's not a positional course. He actually, I mean, it is basically, but it's actually a middle game course on the chessworld.com. You can sign up to see the middle game course there. So it's specifically about the middle game, but I guess you can call it, you know, his definition of it as a positional course is fair enough, I guess. So here I was thinking, okay, I mean, if he does g6, I was looking at it like he'll give me a protected passed pawn. I don't really want to take on g6. I thought, oh great, I'll have a protected passed pawn on e5, but actually I create like a way for him to attack the f4 pawn, which is probably way more important. So first off, I'm going to get out of here. I'm not going to play this materialistically. I don't know. There's just not that much time left. I mean, white's obviously better. But it's not enough time to play like it's a real, you know, tournament game. I'm starting to talk and think about it like it was a real longer game. I wish I had more time. But it sort of degenerates. You guys are really into the conspiracy theories today, huh? All right. F6 was totally unexpected. It looks really bad strategically for black. He's hanging on to his pawn with this line. I mean, that's not what I'm really concerned about. I guess we have to play this. I mean, this is so powerful up there. Oh, he's on another pawn, and he's blockading. All right. Bishop g6. Who cares about the f pawn? Damn. I guess I should have taken on d4 when I had the chance. Oh, were you attacking that pawn? I didn't even notice that. A lot of bad moves here in the blitz finish by both sides. Damn, dude, amazing defense. Swindling me. It's like the worst possible square for my rook. Man, he's an amazing defender, this guy. Now it's ridiculous. Alright. Wow. That's my first game for the day. 73 moves. Oops, sorry. The Explorer is temporarily out of service. Try again soon. I'm curious about the opening here, guys. H3 was the main move, it appears. I mean, it's not like that many people play this opening, but I managed to finish out the game without making too many blunders. Only one game, this random Hungarian candidate Masters. Laszlo Schmikli, I played him in Rapid Chess. This is apparently a new move. It said the opening Explorer was out of service. Is that the end game? Anyway, let's move on. Exciting game. So what's up in the chat room? Unusual to play the Albin against what? Knight F3. You can't. Yeah, I'm not really thinking this game is going to help much for my opening preparation. Guys, make sure you challenge me to casual chess. I don't think our moderator's here to remind you guys. Everything's casual. How do you think AlphaZero will affect opening theory? I don't know that it's going to be relevant. You know, this is a thing that Google is developing. I'm not sure they're going to, you know, have anything to do with chess at all. I mean, I think they're just interested in just seeing how it would do against the commercial chess program. I'm not sure that AlphaZero will have any you know, long-term relation to chess. But I don't know. I don't think I'm the one to ask about engines and artificial intelligence. There's a lot of people in the chess world who know way more than me. So I guess we'll have to stay tuned on that. But I mean, yeah, I mean, it might, you know, a supercomputer, artificial intelligence would certainly have an interesting effect on opening theory in theory, you know. I mean, if it was actually used and released to the general public in some format, in some way, if the information was accessible to the general public. But I don't think that, you know, Google is going to go out of their way to create a map of chess opening theory for the world with a super intelligent artificial human anytime soon. Bishop d3, and I always think that the bishop is generally misplaced there in this type of structure when I've got the ability to play e5, e4 at some point. It should normally go to e2 in these type of Kali systems when black doesn't play d5. Right away, there's no way I can exploit it. But down the line, it's possible that you'll set yourself up for some kind of pawn fork. Hey Bob, thanks for resubscribing. Sorry guys, I'm a little under the weather here. I'm not 100% as you can hear, but I will be on the mend soon. I've got to play serious tournament tomorrow. There's a tournament called the Heteni Memorial. It's a round robin here in Budapest. Two groups. The A group is extremely strong. I mean, not compared to the London Chess Classic or something, but it's a 2600 average GM tournament, and my group will be around 2450. Both Grandmaster Norm tournaments. Bishop g5. I think h6 is always useful. And now he's given up his dark squared bishop, which isn't necessarily the end of the world. You can do that in this type of position without it costing you too much. I don't really prefer it. I would rather play bishop h4 and hope that black plays. Like my teammate yesterday in the Budapest Teen Championship, one of my teammates had a structure like this with black, and he basically, after bishop h4, played g5. I really, really don't think that's a good idea in general. He ended up with a white knight coming in on f5. It was a total catastrophe. So don't do that. Anyway, my bishop on g7, it's not the greatest, but it does have potential to come out back to f8 or out to h6. Interesting line in the Alekhine yesterday. I don't know if you checked in the database, but no one played in an OTB game. Well, I mean, I'm telling you right now that, like, I've never faced that once. That I can recall in a blitz game. I've probably played dozens and dozens of blitz games in the main line of the Alekhine's defense, and a few tournament games, and I don't think I've ever faced that. I was pretty surprised, you know, but it seems sound. But you're mentioning that it was called the Vita Lynch variation. Are you where do you get that from? Like, I know the Latvian players like the Alekhine's defense, Bagirov, especially. So he taught everyone to play the Alekhine's defense. Bagirov and Vita Lynch might be of similar generations. But this is a gambit that Vita Lynch played with white? I mean, I didn't check in the database. I was pretty zonked after the simul yesterday. I can check in my... You should really check in like a chess-based database, because the online Opening Explorer on lichess, you know, I mean, you got a lot of games that aren't in there. Really, really important, like Grandmaster games from the 40s and 50s and 60s, and even prior to that. So it's never enough to just check. If you want to be really professional, to really just check in the lichess Opening Explorer. I have to check in chessbase. Yeah, the gambit. Well, I mean, I'm not playing that opening in a tournament setting, you know, probably, but it is interesting. I have to ask my teammate Zoltan Varga. He's basically one of the best Alekhine's defense players around. Although I don't think he plays the line with bishop g4. He plays other stuff. Coffee doesn't like bishops, but this is not really the greatest structure for bishops, to be honest. So I'm not really sure. I don't think I could take this piece. My real problem is this. My knight is pretty good. It's my only knight. I mean, it's a fairly closed structure. G5. G5 is not good in these type of structures. That's what my teammate did yesterday. It was like horrifying. His opponent got a knight on f5. Once it gets in there, it never gets out. I learned a long time ago, you can't play this kind of structure like it's a normal King's Indian with black. Even f5 is very risky. I mean, I might play f5 here, but it's definitely, you know, taking some chances with my king position. Coffee's 1645. I mean, I've never played this guy, but he seems pretty solid. f5 just it's possible, but it's really weakening, and okay, this is an annoying variation for black. It's hard to get a sharp kind of play for black. You just have to kind of suffer for a while and maybe grind white down with a very, very tiny advantage. Typically, I would play something like bishop f6, maybe king g7, or maybe h5, bishop h6, f6, king g7. Try to improve my dark squared bishop. Yeah, you see, that's a very strong positional move by white now. You know, not a typical fish move. Now white might be better. Not better, but he's made a very strong positional exchange here. I have a bad bishop, so white is at least equal. I definitely wouldn't want this to happen in a serious game. I would be in a very tough spot here trying to win with black against pretty much anybody. I mean, he's basically sacrificing a pawn here. That's unless it's a deep trap that I don't understand. Quite an interesting type of sacrifice. He could have some play along the c-file, but obviously it doesn't seem like he should need to do that. I think he had a perfectly good game if he just plays like a trade of queens with queen b5, for example. Maybe queen c4 here for white, and it looks like equal. Black could even be a tiny bit worse in some positions. $16.45. I mean, he's playing quite a game for that. Not bad. But this sacrifice of the pawn wasn't necessary. You know, typically 16.45 players on lichess are fairly weak. I would be able to beat them very easily. I think if he had played anything else there, I'm not sure if I would ever win. Still he has some annoying play. Bishop f8 maybe. He's actually threatening rook takes a4, rook takes a4, knight to c5 there. Pretty sophisticated tactic. He doesn't make any weaknesses in his pawn structure. The only mistake he's made is sacrificing this pawn unnecessarily. I think he has a very small edge if he doesn't do that. But now, I mean, now we should be out of the woods. It's definitely not the kind of position you want to get against a low-rated player. What I had here. Tedious and extremely difficult to play black's position for a win. Almost blundered a piece there. Still hard to win. Whoa. See, I don't like trading when you're down material. This guy's like 1600 going on 2100. His only problem is that he trades pieces when, you know, he sacrificed the pawn, and I think simple mistakes could be eliminated from his game. I mean, it seems like the kind of player who could be really strong really quickly. He just needs a little bit of practical advice. Not sacrificing the pawn there unnecessarily, and not trading pieces when you're down material. That's, I mean, I think after 20 moves I had nothing. This is where he sacked the pawn though. I mean, it's just totally unnecessary. queen b5 or queen c4, as I was saying. The computer thinks that black is better here. I don't know what you guys think, but I think that particularly Stockfish has a misguided perception about the value of bishops. Like here, basically, it's claiming that black has an advantage. I think that's not very realistic. You know, I think that maybe it likes this bishop and it thinks that that gives black some kind of advantage because it's been programmed that bishops are a tiny bit stronger than knights. I just don't see that that bishop is better than a knight in this position, you know, so I don't think that white really has a disadvantage here. I think this would be a draw between most grandmasters. So, alright man, tough game. I am Gannicus is challenging me to 3-0, but I don't play rated or sudden death here on my stream, Gannicus. Maybe we can play some other time off stream. I'd be happy to play you 5-0 when I'm not streaming. 3-0 is a little too close to bullet for me. I like 5-0. I'll challenge you sometime, man. AKA Cuddlefish. These 1600s are sometimes harder. Well, I mean, yeah, you know, anybody can play a good game one day, and I sometimes get angry. I'm like, oh man, this guy's not 1600. But the truth is that people can, I realize that people can play like 1600 one game, and then they're playing like 2100 the next, and then they're playing like 1300 the next. So it just averages out. Where's all our subscriber challenges today, guys? You guys get to play first. This will be my last stream for 10 days. I'm going to be playing in a norm tournament here in Budapest. Now, you know, yesterday my simul, yeah, we had the simul last night. The problem, I like to play the symmetrical variation against the English, but the problem with that is it's kind of hard to play for a win. All right. It's not easy to beat the English or knight f3, you know, or play for a win against other, you know, either of these openings. But at least in a reverse Sicilian type of situation, you've got something to play for, something imbalanced. Glorious Bobby, I'm very good without time pressure. Glorious Bobby, are you the guy that I just played? Challenge Gannicus, that would be fun, yeah, but I'm not playing 3-0. I mean, I try to do games where the time control is like 5+3 or longer, so I can really, you know, I don't mind playing Gannicus or anybody who's a strong player, but the time control has to be 5+3 or longer. You know, he's obviously a strong player. I don't mind playing him, but I'm not going to do like 3-0. And if I do 5-0, it's too fast to really talk about the game. I know that there are idiots who, like, you know, commentate on their 1-minute games, but I think it's just bullshit, and they're just showing off. I mean, there's nothing constructive about commentating a super fast game where you don't have time to you know, think about what you're doing. I think you know, I focus on instruction, and really we need at least 5+3 to do something serious here. So this is a variation, actually, also maybe not a great winning attempt. Alex Makin played d4. There's nothing wrong with d4. I had a game where I was white in June against the Greek guy whose name I can't pronounce, and I lost. But e4 is a move that looks like, you know what? I may be lying. Maybe I didn't play bishop g2 already. Maybe he played c6 on move 2. And we didn't have knight f6 and bishop g2 in? I think that's how it was. But anyways, that's another line. This is a pretty safe line for black. I mean, I'm talking about playing for a win with black, but obviously this probably isn't the best. This isn't the best choice either. The whole stream is advice, how to play better. You're stuck at 1650 watching videos on YouTube. Buy some chess books, man, and read them. I mean, I'm here making a chess stream, you know, but I'll be the first one to tell you that I don't think that watching videos on YouTube is enough. I mean, first of all, you have to combine playing and and studying, and whatever format or media you use for studying, maybe that's not that important, but you've got to combine actually doing and learning, and that means that you have to play. And I don't know, I obviously like longer games is ideal. So the longer games you play, if you ideally can play in a real live tournament, that's better than say playing like 20-minute games on the internet. And 20-minute games on the internet are better than 5-minute games on the internet. The longer games that you can play, the more complex things you can think about, the better for your game. There's no substitute for live experience playing in real tournaments. I also think that chess books are still very valuable. Even in the digital age, you can buy chess books on, I don't know, on a reader or something, electronic books. But I think that there's a lot of kind of junk out there in the online YouTube chess video realm, and you can start watching stuff and not really be benefiting that much from it, just watching mindlessly somebody talking about whatever. I think you've got to really study the game. I recommend buying some classic books and going through the games of great players step by step. So get a real board or a chess board on ChessBase or a chess program, whatever. But anyway, like step by step, go through the games of world champions and great players. I think the single most important thing that helped me to get strong at chess is studying complete games of masters, world-class masters. That's beyond a doubt like the most important thing you can do to make your game better. Ideally, to study games that have been commentated by the player themselves, not somebody else talking about somebody else's chess game. The ideal way to improve is to study games where Kasparov or Anatoly Karpov or Botvinnik or some kind of world champion player talks about the game step by step that he played. There is no other substitute for that. I mean, this has got to be the best way to improve at chess. But you've got to play and practice too. So, just watching videos, just doing puzzles isn't going to be enough. You have to learn strategy. You have to develop like deep conceptual ideas about the game. It's not enough to just watch videos and react, and do tactics puzzles. I mean, that stuff helps, but it's still not going to make you a complete player. I recommend classic world champions, study their games. Now, knight on g to e2. It's been a while since I played this type of line. Black's position is like a Bogo Indian defense. It's a little bit passive for me. If I take on d4, I really give up my strong point in the center. So I'm not that down with that. On the other hand, I don't really know what to do. If I play bishop g4, we'll see what happens. There's some idea with this, maybe. You're a fan of Tiger Person, Hiller Person. Well, Tiger's written some good opening books, I guess, on the modern. I think I met him back in 1999. But I didn't really get to speak to him too much. There's like more books written on chess than most subjects. I mean, there's so much out there. You got to go beyond YouTube and try to find really classic chess books. Alex Makin seems like a solid player. I'm seriously thinking of giving up my bishop. Because I think in this kind of position, I'm a little bit cramped, so if you have less space, you should make a concrete effort to kind of relieve the cramp. Okay, but white still has an advantage here of some magnitude. It looks like, thinking about taking on d4. In which case I'm going to face a lot of pressure on my d6 pawn. We could play a5, trying to grab some dark squares. You might call it developing the rook from its original square. Slightly concerned about a few things here. It's kind of like a King's Indian, but I don't have a fianchettoed bishop. The structure is similar. That's about the best I can do. It's a little bit passive for me. So now we just have to kind of hold the position somehow. Not really thrilled with this. I did note that the last time I played with Alex Makin, it seemed like he also had a good, solid start. I remember it just recurs to me that I think I might have struggled in the opening against him last time too. I don't consider myself to be an opening expert by any stretch of the imagination. You know, some grandmasters and international masters really excel and specialize, like Tiger Hill person on the modern defense. They specialize in certain openings, and they're like authorities. My focus, you know, is not that narrow. I've never really like been an opening specialist. Be nice to have a knight on c7 right about now. You want your knight on c7? Oh, I see. You want to put it on e6. Hey, that's not fair. You're giving me help. Okay. Well, someone mentioned Petrosian earlier. I think you know, this is the type of position that Petrosian would defend with black, typically. A little bit passive, but solid. He played b3. Feels like he's weakening the dark squares. I mean, I'm not inventing these ideas. Like the transfer of the queen here on the dark squares is like a totally standard Bogo Indian defense idea. My entire plan of exchanging the white squared bishop is a Bogo Indian idea. But I think that white is technically better here. It's very, very minor, but I'm sure the computer thinks white's better because of that bishop. It's Stockfish particularly has a hang up on bishops, overvaluing them, I think. What if I were to exchange? I think I should exchange on d5 at this point. I did not expect that. I was actually a little bit concerned about this kind of unusual recapture here. E takes d, imbalancing the pawn structure. Instead, Alex simplifies with knight takes d5, but I think this is a this is a small mistake for white. I mean, I think he's still okay here, but you leave me in a kind of clear position where it's knight against bad bishop. That could potentially lead to problems. I had a game like this in an accelerated dragon against some kid in the first Saturday rapid tournament a few years ago, and I just stuck a knight on d4 and he sacked the exchange, and then like he realized a few moves later that he didn't have enough compensation. So I mean, white could definitely sack an exchange for a pawn or something, but it's just like, okay, then what? You know, you're left with this difficult ending. You're left in a difficult ending with a bad bishop and down the exchange for a pawn if you sack here on d4. There's no easy answers. Now I've got a4. Looks like we're quite active after this. But I'm not certain that I'm winning. I mean, I think the black is better. Very strong knight, but it's not enough to win the game by itself. Now he took on a4. I really thought that maybe he would play b4. Rook, queen takes c4, rook takes d6. I mean, maybe white is still okay here. Rook takes c4. We take twice. I mean, I've still got to worry about my back rank and whatnot. c5 might be a threat. But I don't like the way that white played this, leaving me with a good knight against bad bishop. He's still hanging in kind of barely on life support here. If I take on c4, it almost looks like I'm winning, but I don't see a finish. There's like check on the back rank, knight f3, king g2. Then where's the win? My rook isn't playing on e8. This is a big problem. He's threatening c5. Apparently, I could play b6 maybe. This seems kind of hesitant. We have a time advantage. Now it seems like it's good enough. We're up a pawn with a better minor piece, attacking chances. Put everything on dark squares. Maybe I walked into a tactic. I'm not sure. He had rook takes b6 last move. I'm just kind of creeping forward. I guess this wins. So I think that white had a good position earlier. Then around like this point, I exchanged on d5. This is kind of the critical moment. Looks like you should play this. It actually opens up your bishop in a way. It opens up the rook in a way. So, I mean, the standard recapture is like with the c-pawn. There is also this move knight b5 that doesn't really do anything immediately. I would just play queen d7. So this kind of position white is slightly better. And, you know, he had to slowly... Now I'm a little bit better. And now it's like only black can play for a win. But... yeah, here I thought I played b6. It looks like it was the best move. Just unpleasant for white. I think a computer would hold this for white. You know, it would definitely draw. Very hard to make progress. This is like a typical position I would get back in the day when I was playing engines for like training games. Oftentimes they cling to the bishop. They'd have like a bad bishop against a good knight. They didn't realize that's bad for them. And then we would end up in this kind of ending, and I couldn't convert because the computer just defends too well. With this kind of slightly passive, slightly worse position, I would win never. Occasionally even like losing in this kind of position, but theoretically it's like a little bit better for black. Anyway, he didn't have a lot of time, so. But I don't think you should trade into this kind of situation with the bad bishop against knight. Arsenal fan, thank you for subscribing to the stream here, guys. Rook takes c4 was possible, Arsenal fan, but I didn't see a forced win, and his pieces are kind of breaking through. I mean, he has take on b7. Now his queen is in my face. I've got back rank problems. If I don't have a forced win, I've let him trade a bunch of pawns off and stuff. So it's better to play b6 and just keep everything on. If I don't have, if I don't have a forced win in that moment, then I'm not going to play rook takes c4. So, and I think that was the case. We just weren't winning. We're slightly better there. Okay, so Arsenal fan playing e4. You've been playing some d4 lately. I played, what, g5. Yesterday I had a terrible experience. My team captain for the Budapest Team Championship said that we had an away match. No, a home match. And I called him the night before, and I said, dude, look, I looked at the schedule and it says that we're away, so that means like when you're away, the board 1 player should have black, and when you're home, board 1 should have white. I'm actually playing board 2 for this match, but anyway, the guy was like, oh no, we're home, so I prepared to play with white for Sunday's game, and then we show up at the place and there's like nobody there, and the security guard is like, what the F, man, like there's no chess match here today. So not only did I prepare the wrong color to play white, for this young FIDE master, or maybe a combination of a couple different players I could have played, I actually ended up like 15 minutes late to the game too, thanks to my idiot team captain. So yesterday I just the dude offered a draw after like 10 moves, and I took it because I had 15 minutes less, and he had prepared, he had definitely prepared for me with e4, so I was not really happy. I had to make a quick draw. I think it was a good practical decision because he's got a time advantage and he's white and he has preparation from his GM coach. I could have easily walked into some kind of prepared line or something. I played the accelerated dragon, which I basically play to be solid. Don't drop your rook this time. HTFP, what are you talking about? Drop your bishop. Anyway, thanks to Bob for resubscribing. Arsenal fan doesn't seem to know what he's doing. He's just basically playing a tempo down in a c3 Sicilian now. After bishop e2, we just totally transposed to queen takes d5 variation of the c3 Sicilian, where you've lost a move. So you could play different ways here. Bishop g4, I'm comfortable with that. I mean, I'm supposing that e5 is also totally playable now. Actually, yesterday against Arsenal fan, I played the Petrov, and he played... I did a simul last night after my day of hunting for players for our GM tournament here in Budapest. We had 2 cancellations by these 2 Indian players for a GM tournament, and we spent the whole of the day after my 11 move draw looking for players for said tournament. And I had to translate for the Hungarians who are speaking to these Indian guys. Anyways, I did the simul last night, and that's the point of the story. Arsenal fan played e4, e5, knight f3, knight f6. He was crying because I played the Petrov. Then I played bishop b4, and he played d3. And then I played d5, I guess. And we had the structure kind of looks like that, like you give up your strong point. If I had played e5, it would have looked like our simul game. Okay, now again, you're a clear tempo down in a c3 Sicilian. In the old days, crazy dudes used to castle queenside in this type of position. I remember that from the chess club when I was a kid, seeing some game like that. It's funny how it still sticks out in my mind. This game I probably saw like over 30 years ago. But maybe it was a blitz game, in fact. But I know this variation. I used to play bishop g4. It's not really the right position though, because he's down a move. He dropped his rook in the simul. Oh, of course, on a1. And then I didn't get to look at the games from last night, but I was like starting to get a little concerned he was going to get some play, so I sacked a piece back. I just gave him like a whole piece back to kind of stop his bullshit, basically, and it seemed to work. It's nice when you win a whole rook. It gives you a lot of flexibility in terms of like returning the sacrificed material. Now, yeah, I was afraid of that. I was hoping for something a little more dynamic. You know, there are two distinct possibilities here. If I take on e2, he could take with a knight and really play like a baby. Just kind of groveling for a draw. But like seriously, after bishop takes e2, it's really hard for black to... I would think it's a little hard for black to play for a win there. But if I take on d4 and he takes on h5, I could take back with a knight on h5. Basically sacking a tempo. He takes back with the pawn. I bring my knight back to f6. It feels like I'm losing my extra tempo back though. If I take with the queen on h5, he takes with the queen on d4. Let's see, what will Karpov do here? Knight takes d4, bishop takes h5. Knight takes h5, pawn takes d4, knight back to f6. I'm having like strange deja vu. Yeah, just knight back to f6. If bishop g5, bishop e7, I don't know. I'm wasting too much time, but these are all practical considerations. I mean, you could certainly just exchange bishops on e2, and I don't know, maybe for all I know, he was going to take back with the queen and try to sacrifice his d4 pawn, but if that were the case, then I wouldn't bother to do this. I wouldn't take the pawn on d4. I would just play along the same lines here. I think that long-term considerations and structure may be more important than material. Castle's queenside. We've got like no pawn shelter. I think it's just foolhardy, not manly. So this is basically what I was aiming for. Some kind of tiny edge for black, but like very lasting. No fun for white at all. Now rook e1. But it doesn't really threaten anything. I could even play bishop b4 here. Yeah, but I'm afraid that's what he wants, really. Something like bishop b4, rook e3, and I don't know, it could get kind of weird. I'm sure that bishop b4 is playable, but it's definitely riskier than bishop e7. Okay, now, okay, white is just infinitesimally worse, but it's the nice thing about it is that it's not going anywhere. My advantage is just like stable. He's almost equal, but there's still a nagging chance that black can be a little bit better here. So what's up, everybody? This will be my last stream for a little while. I've got a tournament. Arsenal fan just sacked the pawn for nothing. Getting a lot of that today. Dude, what is going on? Still, it's like not winning, I mean, per se. Once I had a game in the World Open against some guy who was like 2100, and I was just up a like central pawn. I just won his isolated pawn in the center, and then he just triple barreled, like blockaded with all three heavy pieces, and it was very hard to make progress. Yeah, so I'd rather not trade bishops if I could help it, though it may not be avoidable. This is a brilliant move. Because he's on my a7 pawn, I can't move my other rook. Perhaps something like b6. This looks a little slow, though. He's gonna triple up on my d5 pawn. Anyway, it's probably just a draw. I have to be a little bit careful. There is a back rank mate. Damn it. I guess it's just a draw. Nothing I can do. It doesn't take the pawn. That's weird. Why would you play a3 there? That's a very strange move. I think he's like pre-moving every move too. Now it depends what he does, but this is a draw. Pretty sad that I couldn't get anything here up pawn. He's got 2 minutes more than me. I guess he's playing a lot of bullet chess or something. He's 1568 at bullet chess, drawing me easily here. This is probably the best move for white too. I don't want his king coming up f3 into g4. That would be a problem. Could get kind of sharp here. I got 16 seconds to his 2 minutes. My king is cut off. What is going on? Guess I'm losing here. Yeah, it's just lost for me, I think. Well, it was lost for me. Now it's a draw. You have 2 minutes more and a winning position. I think it was winning. I couldn't count exactly, but intuitively it looks like I was losing. You're probably queening first by 1 tempo or something. So I busted here. It's got to be lost. I shouldn't have traded into the ending, but I was worse anyway. At the end it's a draw, but prior to that I was lost here. Can't trade rooks. My problem is that I thought I was worse in this ending because my king position is worse. I mean, I panicked and traded rooks, but we have to play. I was going to play rook c4, but then I had second thoughts. I didn't like, here, but I can just go back. So it was just a draw. And I let you have a winning position here because I forgot you have an extra tempo. So king c5, b4. This is easily winning for you. b4. 1, 2, 3. Takes too long, man. Okay, so well played by white though, He was only a tiny bit worse. This is an amazing pawn sacrifice. He just flat out sacked the pawn here with d5. I mean, I don't know too many people who would do that, honestly. Like bishop e5 looks like a sane move where it should be a draw, but I think that black is an infinitesimal bit better. But you just sack this pawn, and after queen d4 I can't find anything. I should have played b6. I was thinking about this, but I thought he could pile up on that pawn 17 times. I was afraid of rook e5, but I guess that doesn't work. So I should have played b6 after all. No, this is a different question. What's that? Um, yeah, it's actually a sack. I thought about b6 and then I was an idiot because, well, I mean, I guess what bothered me was rook e5. Why can't he go here? Yeah, because I didn't see bishop f6 is simply working. If I had realized, yeah, d5's risky because I could have done b6. And I was talking about it, and then I didn't do it because I thought, oh, he'll pile up on everything. How about this move? Yeah, the problem is I'm threatening bishop f6. I play rook d8, and you can't get your pawn back. But once I play the other move here, it's just nothing. This is just a dead draw. And actually, I had to be precise here, not to be worse. I couldn't decide what to play in this position. I ended up playing probably the best move according to Stockfish, a6. I don't know why you played a3. I mean, that's just irrelevant. a3? Like, I played a6, so you played a3. I mean, I have to play a6 because your rook's getting on the 7th rank. But you don't have to play a3. This should be a dead draw. I'm not sure if h5 was so good. And I should have just traded pawns here. You know, that's what I would do normally, I guess. But I played h4, which was kind of risky. And after f4, I played f5, which is very risky too. And here I have to be precise. And I blundered the rook exchange. Because sometimes I go into panic mode. Okay, Nabil is up next. Well, I mean, you're the one with the initiative there, Arsenal fan. I had to play a6 because you're threatening to get on the 7th rank first. But you don't have to do that. Alright. So, too much simplification in that game. I ought to play e4 once today. So, guys, this will be my last stream for 10 days. We'll be back on the 22nd. I believe the 22nd of December is the next scheduled stream. Sorry, I have to go. Okay. Sorry for rematching you. I'm going to play Very Bad Wizard. Actually, Very Bad Wizard. Very Bad Wizard. You're not a subscriber, are you? If somebody's a subscriber and I'm not accepting their challenge because I forgot they're a subscriber, please, like, don't hesitate to let me know. I always like to take the subscribers' games first. I reflexively played knight f3, something I'm trying to get out of the habit of. But I gave you a chance to win the game there, Arsenal. I was really concerned because I have no king position, and you have a good king. I'm thinking it's my move here. It would be nice to have the move as well. So bishop f5. Interesting. This probably transposes to a martial defense. I have an interesting idea to sack a pawn in this line. After knight takes d5, knight d2, knight f6, queen b3, queen c8, e4. I had this game with Dr. Danny Kopek where he played knight f6, queen b3, queen c8. But then I played lamely with some g3 or something and didn't get anything. Very Bad Wizard just losing a piece here. Let's give him a take back, and that's our one take back for the stream. I could have used the take back last game when I traded rooks against Arsenal fan. Sometimes we just freak out because we see, like, you know, murderous boogeyman on the horizon, and then we just, like, you know, go nuts. That's what happened basically last game. I was so afraid that Arsenal fan would have an edge in the rook ending that I panicked and traded rooks into a totally lost position. Sometimes we do things without thinking, like irrationally, and this is something that you have to try to fight against. It's obviously hard to do when I had like 16 seconds, which I don't, really like. So he not only drew me, he drew me using 2 minutes less. Arsenal fan is an interesting player. I'm just thinking, like, well, do I want to play e4 or not? Probably I do. My knight is not on the optimal square. So Bear IRL asked again, did you check out some of the AlphaZero Stockfish games? I haven't checked out any new games. I only initially looked at a couple games the night after the paper was reported in the BBC. I haven't had any free time to look at more. But I did make a note out of there was the one game that was like 100-something moves long, and one of my students who's kind of into computers and artificial intelligence made a suggestion to me, and I don't know if it's true, but speaking about this 100-move game, it took like 130 moves for, maybe it wasn't that many, but it was like 115 or something, where basically AlphaZero beat Stockfish when it had like a massive advantage out of the opening. It was like +2, +2.5 after 25 moves. What I thought was a winning position, and it took it like forever to win, and he was making the comment that maybe that's the way chess in the future will be, like between computers, like it's normal to have like 100-move games. They're so close in strength that that's the way that chess games will be decided. Kind of a weird idea. Like maybe we're just playing chess very badly, and games are meant to be like 100 moves every time. This is a very strange opening we've got going on here. I feel like my center is kind of overextended. I mean, maybe I should go nuts with like h4. I don't really know where to put my pieces, to be perfectly honest. Knight on d2 is bad. My d4 pawn has no backup whatsoever. I guess we just have to play like bishop e2 and bite the bullet here. There's nothing else to do, really. I mean, it's hard for black to put pressure on my center, too. He can play knight c6, but then the pawn can go forward. I was thinking like b3, bishop b2. Strangely, though, I mean, black seems fine here. Strange stuff. Maybe at this point I have to go for his bishop pair with like knight to e5. That would probably be a better try than what I did. e4 looks kind of toothless. I'm seriously starting to worry about this position a little bit. I'll end up having to like lose a tempo. How am I going to protect the d4 pawn and the e4 pawn? I was giving him a take back a minute ago, and now like I don't like my position anymore. That's pretty funny. I think I'm going to need a take back. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Somebody mentioned a4. Yeah, I think a4, a5. I don't think that it's a big deal. He shouldn't let me overrun him with the pawn. I might have to just lose a flat-out tempo. If knight c6, bishop b5, I'm stuttering. I'm so upset. But I don't see any other way to protect the pawn, realistically. Yeah, this is a good move. I have to play knight e5, it looks like. Go for the bishop pair. That's my only chance, really. Now, he didn't play knight c6. He can try to put pressure on the pawn a different way, with maybe knight c6 and bishop f6. My knight is totally retarded here on d2. It's very, very badly placed. Has no good squares to move to. There, I think he should go with like immediately trying to put pressure on my center. Though maybe it's not too late. Not too late to try this hyper modern type of approach. Knight c6 followed by bishop f6. It's like a Scandinavian. a4 is definitely an idea, but the thing is, like, once you play a4, he plays a5. You've got to consider something. You know, that kind of structure, you have a lasting weakness on b4, okay? If I play a4, he plays a5. I can never get a knight off of b4 with a pawn. But the corresponding weakness on b5 is not permanent. He can chase a piece off of b5 with c6. So you really have to be, you know, considerate about playing a4 or not. I think, like, if he puts his knight on d7, maybe that's a situation where the a4 becomes more tempting because there's no knight to come into b4 to get kind of locked in there. Just stuff you should be thinking about, you know, strategically. Not to say that a4 is not playable. Maybe even a5 is a weakening move for black in some sense. But this is the internal debate that you have to have with yourself. Like Jonathan Rowson in one of his books. Those are good chess books by Rowson. Speaking of good chess books, Chess for Zebras, and his other book, which I can't recall right now. He's talking about like talking to your pieces. It's like having an internal discussion with yourself. This move I don't really like. Weakening his structure. Okay, we'll go ahead and play a4. I've been influenced by the viewership. It feels aggressive, but I think he answers with a5. Okay, a knight on b4 is not the end of the world. There are lines in the Slav where you have to just live with a knight on b4. There are many variations where I play the white side of the King's Indian, where a knight goes to b4. You can't get rid of it. You just have to live with it. You know, it's on b4. It's not in the center, so it's not the end of the world. You don't talk to your pieces. Well, then talk to yourself, man. For God's sake. Do it out loud. A lot of crazy chess players out there. One of them came to the Hungarian, well, the first Saturday yesterday. This guy is so psychotic, and he's been around for years. He's constantly like muttering to himself. The classic chess player. A5 is like mandatory, I think. No, in some cases when white has the bishop on e3 instead of on b2, the knight on b6 gets kind of loosened up by playing a5. Someone I was working with recently dropped a piece like that in a game. But it happens all the time in like these Neo Grunfeld. But very bad wizard, it may be the case that like your move is actually best. Your second move after the take back. It looks like knight on bd2, bishop g6. Kopek played knight f6. But this is a different approach. I think that bishop g6 is interesting. I'm not at all convinced, by the way, that like, you know, the Encyclopedia of Chess Openings recommendation here, knight bd2, I'm not convinced this is necessarily the best move. I have tried it, and I've also on occasion played, I think, like knight to c3. I almost played rook e1. I mean, that's walking directly into bishop b4. So I think we have to be a little more careful. Shit. It's a nice hyper-modern setup for black. It's really not that easy for white to do anything with this idiot knight on d2. And now my pawn is not protected. I'm getting really low on time at this point. Queen c2 doesn't do anything. Could play something like queen c2, rook c8. Just gonna lose on time in a minute. Fortunately, he can only put one piece on b4 at a time. Can I give you time in exchange for the take back? No, it just drags out the game. I mean, it's already a very long game, 7 + 3. It can take like 20 minutes at the maximum. This is maybe like 18 minutes. What's the longest? Probably these games can run about 18. Some of my 8 + 3 used to run 20 plus, so it's too long. He's defending well. I thought at least this way I can finally get my pieces developed with something like queen e2 and rook d1. f5 is totally insane. Maybe not that bad, but totally insane. No, it's a gutsy idea to play f5. He has a lot of weaknesses on the white squares, though, so I don't really know how to recommend continuing here. Bishop f6 probably. Bishop f6. Complicated game. White has a space advantage, but it's not that easy. Wait, c7 is hanging. The bishops are getting really strong, but rook takes c7 seems kind of materialistic. I've got to be practical. I could get in danger. Probably should take on c7 there. He's just got so much time. Should have taken on b7. How many pieces does he get there? Well, it doesn't really matter. All right, man. This is why this is why I don't like bullet chess. Like, the game is just a joke. Once we get down under like 20 seconds, it was a good battle until near the end when we just started making random moves. I thought until here, it's really close. It looks like the computer suggestion of bishop h5 is a solid move. f5 is really risky. Knight e5, queen e8, and the engine just takes the pawn. Yeah, I mean, this is what I should do. I was afraid of some ghosts. My rook would get trapped or something. Bishop d6, rook takes b7. Let's say bishop takes e5, e takes d5, queen c6. I looked at something like this. You know, I freaked out and wasn't sure what was going on. But as far as the opening goes, we got only 3 games here. Julius Kosma. I know a Romanian Kosma. Yeah, so this is a new move. I played e4, but I have serious questions. I thought about h4 like after the fact. It's interesting. Queen b3 is definitely a move too, and but honestly I think knight e5 might be good. Just a safe, simple approach. Nothing special, but we have a small edge here probably. Looks like a Slav. White's just a little bit better. Interesting opening. Okay, Morales and Ayesta, a couple of our subscribers showing up. Yeah. I almost lost on time, but the 3-second increment saved me. So, against Morales, trying to play something aggressive maybe. c5 allows c4 symmetrical English, which I'm trying to steer away from. I think Morales actually played this against me yesterday with black. He's played a lot of d6 type of stuff and bishop g4. Knight f3 in particular is a move where it's very, very hard for black to get anything dynamic against knight f3. I remember the first time I saw someone play d6 against knight f3 it was the American Grandmaster Michael Rode, and I was kind of, you know, curious about it. You know, why particularly against knight f3 do we play d6? I mean, first of all, I think you've got to have, you know, the ability to play like the Sicilian defense or the Pierts in the event of white playing like e4. That's very important, what you're going to do if white plays e4. If you could play the Sicilian, then it's fine, you know. But if you're like a Lopez player and you play the black side of the Spanish, basically, you're going to have a problem, I guess. If you play d6, you can't play, you know, knight f3, d6 because of e4, and you're screwed. So it's kind of important, like, what kind of repertoire you play. I don't think the setup is necessarily great for black, but how to create, like, imbalance. How to create an interesting position where white can make mistakes in the solid knight f3 type of openings. It's really tough. So, I think one of the last tournaments I played back in the United States, Continental Open, several years ago, maybe like 4 years ago, my old friend Alexander Ivanov started playing d6. He actually lost to me in an Old Indian. But I noticed that he played against knight f3 in one game as well. Just aren't that many ways to force a murky, interesting position after white plays one knight f3. Last year there was some opponent I was preparing for one of my games, and I was like pulling my hair out trying to think of a way to get like a complex position. I was prepared to play something like this. Now here, I mean, I guess knight d7. I'm not necessarily in a hurry to trade off my bishop. We can play a Slav type of structure like I was just talking about with h3, bishop h5, g4, bishop g6, knight h4. The queen on c8 isn't ideal, but it's not like the end of the world either for black. Catchphrase for today. Starcraft Gecko said, I saw a Chess Life article one time where Kramnik described ways to minimize your required opening knowledge with knight f3. Definitely. I mean, that's one of the reasons why I play knight f3. But it's also very limiting. I mean, it definitely has advantages and disadvantages. At some point, Kramnik actually kind of got a little, I think, a little limited by it. You know, you can't play, if you're like a d4 player, you can't play a lot of aggressive stuff if you switch to knight f3. You can't play anything that involves moving your f pawn. You can't play the white side of the Nimzo Indian. You can't play more sharp lines against the King's Indian. It's really restricting. So I mean, I definitely wouldn't classify black's position as an aggressive one. But playing for a win doesn't necessarily mean you have to, like, you know, play like a maniac. You can play solidly and just keep the pieces on the board, and hopefully the white player will make mistakes. Now here, I don't know, maybe I'm making a mistake, I'm not sure. Well, it looks like no. I was concerned if g4, bishop g6, g5. I have knight e4 there. Alright. I mean, bishop takes f3 is solid, but I don't think that it's necessarily as good or interesting as bishop h5. In order to play for a win, you often have to take risks, and that sometimes even means like playing slightly passive, slightly dubious positions to give the other player you know, chances to go wrong. You know, sometimes you actually have to hand the initiative over. You know, hopefully they'll make mistakes. But Morales just plays Slav style here. It looks like it was after I play d5, it's gonna look like some kind of typical e3 Slav. Let's say d5, f4. Is f4, f5 a threat? No. I mean, I don't think so. Though I do have to be careful about pawn takes d5. We take back which way? With a c pawn, maybe. Bishop b5 is not a big deal here. I certainly wouldn't want to play c takes d with white. It looks... I mean, black can take back all three ways on d5, I guess, with any of the above. But, I mean, when I look at this position, I can look at the position through the eyes of white, you know, because I play this type of structure sometimes. And I could say to myself, well, how would I feel if I was white here? And I'm not sure, you know, I would feel like I have an advantage or not. Sometimes they can play like psycho aggressively in castle queenside, but with these pieces like on c1 and d2, how is white going to develop here aggressively? I mean, there's no really aggressive plan. Bishop e7 was a possibility instead of d5, definitely. I think that move is okay. Honestly, I was a little concerned about f4. Trying to overrun me. I mean, he could still try it. But I thought, you know, worst case scenario, I can play something like knight e4. g5 looks kind of strange, honestly. The plan was to play knight e4 now. But I'm a little bit concerned. Okay, knight h5 queen d1 resigns. So I clearly have to move my knight. We could make a Caro-Kann type of retreat here with knight to g8. It's not out of the realm of possibility if there's something wrong with knight e4. I'm not loving it, but knight e4, knight takes e4. Some complicated tactical type of stuff going on. Alright, I mean, this is simple. I was mostly concerned about... What was I mostly concerned about? Knight takes e4 here. Now this way I can take on d2. Although, you know, maybe I should take on g6. Number one, I'm concerned about the position opening up. Number two, I'm developing his pieces if I play knight takes d2. That's not really what I wanted to do. We have to keep in mind I'm not a Slav defense player. Oh, the instant f4. That is totally, absolutely unexpected. But he was concerned about his g5 pawn. Now I have the same questions. But I don't know, man. I mean, ultimately, I think white has a lot of weaknesses here after f4. Maybe it's just not that significant. King f2, king g2. He's fine. What would Kramnik do? And that white bishop is really, really dangerous. Now the dark squares fall. I think that e4 is dubious. Time again is the enemy. We have a similar situation to some other games where one side has had like a bad bishop but a lot of space. Not that different from the first game today. White seems still better here. Maybe I overestimated my endgame a little bit. Unfortunately, that's a solid move. I'm starting to slink down in the chair here. Slowly I'll be under the desk. So white's still slightly better. Once again, I feel like I'm kind of alien to the Slav structure. Is he better because he has more space, or is he, you know, in danger of overextending himself? Plucro just subscribed. Good to have you back with us, Plucro. I have the feeling like you don't normally like make the daytime streams very often. Morning, I should call it. That word more. Oh, the rook b1. Wow, what is rook b1 about? f5. Freedom. Freedom from the spatial disadvantage on the queen side. King side, queen side, whatever that is. that area over there where his king is. Now I think that white messed this up a little bit. We have all sorts of possibilities. His center is melting down. I can even take with a knight here. Maybe it's a damn good move. Seems strange to take with a knight, but it does the job. I've got a beautiful pawn structure, but hopefully more of them than the opponent. White's slightly overextended. King is also a bit open. Wow. This doesn't leave us too many options. We can take on e4 with check. Lots of possibilities. To h2 check, take on e3. Oh man, we got some vicious ideas. Damn, he saw that. I was hoping he wouldn't. I was hoping he wouldn't see that. I have no idea what's going on now. A4 exclamation point. Damn, dude. I am not winning anymore. He saw the tactics there. Now he's going to lose on time. Alright, man. Draw is good for me. I don't want to risk it here. We could try something crazy like rook f1. But objectively, he's got a protected pass pawn. He could sack the a pawn and maybe penetrate with his rook. Wasn't a bad game overall for the time control. I'm actually, I thought I was like on the verge of winning at one point. The engine does want to play rook f1 here, a move prior. It's possible actually playing g6 might have even made my position worse. Looks like I was winning. I didn't find it. Oh, okay. I just had a total win with rook f8 check. Damn. Okay. But he didn't have to allow that. I mean, he could have played bishop takes c5 first, and he's only slightly worse there. I didn't even look at rook f8. I was so obsessed with the stupid idea of playing rook h2 check that I didn't bother to check that I had this move. Alright, unfortunately, only 12 seconds there. Ayesta's up next. I'll try to play the other challenges before the stream ends. Don't anybody else challenge me, because I mean, I don't think I'm even going to get to all three of these. Given the time we have, I'll play, you know, who I can. So, yeah, Ayesta, let's play an e4 game. I knew I wasn't losing material. Rook h2 check was actually kind of a cheapo. And ironically, I had the winning move at that moment. I was too obsessing on one move that I didn't even look. You know, they say like you should look wide before you look deep. Just check to see what all your candidate moves are first, no matter what you do. This is like what I wasn't doing, just completely overlooking rook f8. Just a wide scan of the possible candidate moves probably should be the first priority, rather than going down one path at the at what you're looking at. Too obsessed with one move there. All right, so I guess Tay and I have probably had a few games in these anti-Berlin lines. Queen e2 probably has some drawbacks, but I mean d3 is so insipid. I can't really bring myself to play that. I played one game with it. It feels so passive to play d3, you know. Hard to find something against the Berlin though. I definitely don't want to play the white side of that Berlin endgame and seriously try to win that. Too much analysis by high-level players. Black can even be better in those endings sometimes. So if I play e4, I'm definitely going to play either queen e2 or d3 here with white. I mean, hell, I'd rather play the 4 knights. You know, you could play knight c3. Anything's better than going to the Berlin. I mean, the 4 knights is probably not that bad for white. d3 is super aggressive. I like that Arsenal fan. It facilitates. It's like the Joko piano. That's how all the top grandmasters are playing the white side of the Joko piano, of course. The quiet d3. And then later d4. It's always coming. My teammate, Tibor Tolnai, he's a solid GM and also a world-class Omaha poker player. He had a game for a Hungarian team championship on Sunday against a lower-rated player where he just simply played the white side of the Joko, and then like black played the Hungarian defense or something with bishop e7. The critical moment was like he eventually played d4. This is when he like took control of the center, like 15 moves and he played d4, challenged e5 later, and then got an advantage and won. Now, I think that h3 is a common move, but I'm not sure. I guess rook d1 is good. If black plays a6 now, one can simply play bishop a4, but I would consider taking on c6 here. It's like the whirl attack. d4, pawn takes pawn. Pawn takes pawn. Now I'm threatening to take on c6, maybe. I sound very convinced. I think that Ayesta had played bishop g4 against me in some prior game or games. We're trying to keep the initiative here. You'd rather play the Ponziani. That's what one of my other teammates did. Ponziani transposed to the Lopez Steinitz. I wouldn't mind playing the Ponziani if my opponent promised not to play the best lines. Wow, what is up with rook e8? So if I take on c6, he has, you know, bishop takes, pawn takes e5, knight takes e4. Somehow looks kind of suspicious for black, but I don't know. Taking on c6, giving up my bishop, trying to take on e5, and then he takes, knight takes e4. Almost have tricks like knight to d4 there. But at the end of the day, my queen and his rook may face off on the e-file, which I'm not really looking forward to. Bishop takes c6, bishop takes c6, pawn takes e5. Knight takes e4. I was looking at knight to d4 there, trying to win a piece. But he has interesting possibilities. I'm not really sure I'm better. There's something simple like d5. Basically, my queen is on e2 in a slightly weird situation. Wait, don't I have pawn takes e5 here? Pawn takes e5, knight takes e5, knight takes e5. Pawn takes e5, bishop takes d7, knight takes d7. Just like some infinitesimal advantage to white. Huh. Pawn takes e5, knight takes e5, knight takes e5, pawn takes e5. Then what? It's ridiculous. I have bishop takes d7, knight takes d7, queen b5. Uh-oh. Maybe we can snap that pawn on b7. Alright. I smell something in the water here, but I don't know, man, if it's enough. It feels fishy for black somehow. I mean, it looks solid and all, but just wouldn't surprise me if there's something concretely wrong with black's position. Just being a bit too passive. Knight takes e5, knight takes e5. Pawn takes e5. Bishop takes d7, knight takes d7, queen b5, bishop d6, queen takes b7. That seems like I'm up a pawn. Hope my queen doesn't get trapped or something. And you know, he could take with the pawn. He just smashed immediately. So he basically has to take with a knight here. Knight takes e5, knight takes e5. I don't see another way around this variation. So at the end of the day, I take his b7 pawn. And I don't see any tricks for black. Guys, my last stream here till the 22nd of December. I'm going to be playing a tournament in Budapest. It should be broadcast on the internet. Hetényi Memorial B Tournament. As far as the link, actually Nefedov, one of our subscribers, found the link on the Hungarian Chess Federation to the tournament info. I don't have a web page for it yet, but I will post that information in my Sparkle Horse team. If you go on lichess and you click on my name, Sparkle Horse, and you go to my profile, you can click on the link that says Team Sparkle Horse, and in there I'm posting the information about the tournament I'm playing in while the stream is down, and I'll try to update, you know, what's going on in the games. But as far as I know, the games will be broadcast live. I just don't know, you know, if it'll be on, if it's on like the Hungarian Chess Federation website. I'm not sure if other websites will know about it, you know, so maybe I'll have to put the link in there. We'll find out tomorrow. But you can look up the Hungarian Chess Federation if you're interested in following my results. Actually, I think that Zoltán Almási and another GM are going to be doing commentary, but probably in Hungarian for the Hungarian Chess Federation, but of the A tournament. There's a very strong A tournament, 2600 average. Now, c6 wasn't what I expected. What's up with that? It's like a trap. Queen takes b7. That's a sick trap, dude. That is a sick trap. You guys see that? Queen takes b7, knight c5. I've never seen anything quite like that before. Rook takes d8, rook takes d8, and I lose to back rank mate. Oh my god. That is so sick. And of course I didn't analyze this. We still have some kind of itty-bitty advantage, even if we don't take the pawn with the better bishop. But it ain't much. Man, that's really bad. Queen takes b7, knight c5, rook takes d8, rook takes d8, hasta la vista. Just dead. Deadville. Unbelievable. Well, alright. Where do I want to go? I wanted to try to stay active rather than put my queen on a passive square, if possible. Maybe induce his knight to go to b6, where it's actually not really that well placed. He could even play that. Guys, we have time for like 2 more games after this. Then we're going to wrap it up. I've only got 1 challenge at the moment. Basically equal. White has a 0.1 type of advantage here. That's what we want to see though. Knights on b3, b6. Basically not a great square. Then again, my knight's doing zilch, so not saying much. All right. Maybe a4. Oh, he's got time for bishop c5 now. Man. Knight c4, b5. It's ironically not a bad move for black. a4, bishop c5. a4, bishop c5. That's so irritating. Knight c5 is a different story. You could actually take there. Is this just to completely symmetrical? I'm like stuttering. I just thought the position was symmetrical, but it's not entirely symmetrical. Almost like blundered the game there. Does he seem faster than me? Or is it just my imagination? I guess that was a mouse slip. We'll forgive him. Alright, man. You're slightly worse here. But it's not enough to lose. Your knight can get trapped. You're not worse. I thought you were worse. Okay. Stockfish overrules me. After king f7, I thought your knight would be kind of like entombed inside the position there. Funny. King f7, king f3 I would play. King e6. What's wrong with just king e3? Now here apparently I can get in trouble with knight to b2. Amazing defense, Ayeste. I mean, you got to get credit for that. There's actually games, a couple games. David Marciano. It's a French player. He basically used all his time to find this, down to 2 minutes. The other players must have realized that queen b5 doesn't work, so they didn't do that. Oh man, there's this move. Mommy. Now that's real chess. It still doesn't eliminate the back rank problem, but I like it. I like it. At least we got something here after bishop h6. Okay, well, we'll save that for next time. I'm going to play Everybody Loves Raymond. Everybody Loves Raymond. If this is a long game, this will be the last one. If it's short, I'll try to play one more game. You think resign after queen b5. Well, it's just a pawn at worst case. You definitely shouldn't resign, but I understand if you're playing like Magnus Carlsen or something. But Magnus not in the best form, huh? Losing to Nepomniachtchi yesterday. Played a really strange move, c5. It seems like he's out of sorts. So bishop g4. This is an unusual line. I've never played this player before. Looks like established though. Well, yeah, not a new account. Very unusual line with bishop g4 in the Slav. I guess maybe queen b3 might be better than what I did. No, if your opponent makes a move and you're like, that looks terrible, you've got to ask yourself the question, just, you know, what's the trick? Give people respect, you know. But I think he's just making this up, so I'm going to call his bluff. He might have some compensation, but I don't think it's enough here. Black is basically down a pawn. Not that well developed, and you know, you can make an argument that my extra pawn is not that good, but it's still on the board, still influencing play. Queenside castles is really slightly mental. But Black has decided he is not gonna take half measures here. 93 just messes up my coordination pretty bad. I think I could do that anyway though, probably 93 and bishop d2. 93 bishop e4 looks kind of awkward. It's an unsound pawn sacrifice for Black, but still the game is yet to be finished. It's not that bad for Black that he can't play. Knight c3 is kind of a passive move, but I don't have any other really good options. If I play e4 now, I mean, I really probably need to. We can see what Black does. My white squared bishop is kind of a question mark here. F3 bishop c5. This looks like a good move. Everybody loves Jesus. Jesus in Hungarian. The extra pawn is good. Try to play one more after this one. Just came back from market. Oh, Trumpowski. I have new theories as to who Trumpowski might be. Market. I'm getting a little concerned that the A3 is probably too passive. A rook D1 even is trading off his active rook. Probably not a bad move. F4. F4 bishop B4 bothers me a little bit. F3. Probably going to need to play this. Defending E4 is paramount. And also knight H6, knight G4 type of stuff. But it's still not that easy. Very well might lose the pawn back. So we're just giving the pawn back. Everybody loves Jesus. Check out his ratings. 1800 in Bullet, 2200 in Rapid, 2100 in Blitz. Why is he so low at Bullet? We have some tiny edge. I can't keep the pawn. Definitely a strong player. Just horsing around in the opening. Soltigo's on. What's up, Soltigo? Last stream before my break. We're not going to be streaming for 10 days. Maybe we'll play. Well, he traded his dark squared bishop there. I'm a little surprised by that. But there's a case for it. There's a case to be made for that. Maybe it was the best move. Bishop D4 doesn't really do anything. We should be like a little bit better here. It's probably a draw. Now that's interesting. I feel like black was just like a strong player intentionally playing a joke opening to look like they're weak or something. Now he's playing extremely well. Inconsistent though, going back to c7, I think. He's got himself in a pin. And I'm not sure if that was a good idea. You lose a pawn in an ending like this, it's probably decisive. I have just g4. Maybe you should go the other way with the king. This should be winning. Too many pawns. Objectively, he should try to mobilize his queen side. Or just in time. You just blockade, actually. And maybe he should have played a different move there. Several different ways to skin cats. Oh. Could get a little close. Hope there's no miracle draw for black here. Looks like there might be. That was a little too close for comfort. Is this a draw? Now it is. He suddenly turned into an endgame genius at the last moment there. He offers me a draw. Okay, dude. Pretty sick ending. Let's see where I lost the advantage. F6 was winning. Plays H6. Where's the win? Here Stockfish says I'm just winning, but it seems to evaporate into thin air here. 2 pawns up in a bishop ending. I had to play H5. Okay, that was hard to find with like no time left. I had 11 seconds. Watch the evaluation of the computer here. F6 plus 4. No, I've got to go, guys. It's time to go. I've got another commitment here. It's 12:30. So next stream will be the 22nd of December. H6 though, just draws. Like the engine doesn't realize it. It's just not over the horizon at first. Just no way to win. That's the best move. It's interesting that he finds this move. I mean, he's got 2 minutes and 24 seconds, but I mean, you know, intuitively I would think about like trading on G5 or something. First he blockades, and I took on H6. I mean, there's this threat of playing king here. There just really isn't much I can do about it. King C4, for example. The pawn is just gone. We can get our king pretty close. King here, king here, king here. And his diagonal's very short with the bishop on G6. But after king F4, king E7, king E5, that's the shortest possible diagonal. I mean, damn, that's insane. Like bishop G4, he has this move. Actually, he could play king F4 here. Bishop D7, king E5, bishop E6. You can even go there. So, funny game. I was robbed at the last moment, but my opponent had like 2 minutes to my 10 seconds left. Bad opening for black. I don't know what this is. I thought here maybe F6 is definitely the best try. It's funny, the computer says C takes D5, bishop takes B1. Anyway, guys, I've got to go. I will be back tomorrow. Not tomorrow. I won't be back tomorrow. I'm sorry, I'm autopilot. It is a tournament I'm playing in, the Heteni Memorial, starting tomorrow. So no streams until the 22nd of December. I think the 22nd of December is a Friday morning. You know, if all goes well, we'll be back that Friday morning. There'll definitely be a simul on no simul. Sunday is Christmas. So yeah, probably just one stream on the 22nd, and then Christmas. So guys, I'll see you on the 22nd of December. And thanks Soltigo for showing up. I really appreciate you guys subscribing. Check out my YouTube channel, Video Chess Training on YouTube. Check out the Sparkle Horse team on lichess if you want to follow my results. The Heteni Memorial in Budapest. You could just look up the Hungarian Chess Federation on the internet, and you'll find an English link or something like that. But anyway, you can find out. I'll post the information on my Twitch page and on lichess. Okay, guys, thanks for hanging out with me, and I will see you on the 22nd of December. Bye bye.